Look up quadratic formula raps on TikTok and on YouTube. YouTube's funnier because it's the old stuff. Oh my gosh, there's like whole schools that get together and rap about the quadratic formula. It's the most insane thing you've ever seen. It's embarrassing. There's some ones of just you gotta see it. I can't even say it. It's so bad. Some of these people should never rap in their lives ever. The teacher's trying to rap. No offense to the teachers, good for them. They try, but it'll make you laugh. If it helps you remember it, it helps me remember it. That's what made me remember it. Was back they sang a song to it. Whatever works for you guys, look it up. The quadratic formula song. It'll help you remember the quadratic formula rap. So this is the quadratic formula. We use these to solve quadratic equations. This is what a quadratic equation looks like. Whenever you have that square term, the x term, and then no variable at all, it's going to be equal to 0 in order to solve it. If it's not equal to 0, you can't solve a quadratic equation like normal. There are some ways to solve it, but not using this formula. So this is what the quadratic equation looks like. When you read it, it's going to be the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, this part underneath here, that's underneath the radical, this part right here is called the discriminant. That discriminant decides how many answers you have. Guys, this is a big deal because it helps you know what your answers need to be or how many answers you need to have. So if that discriminant, that number that's underneath that radical every time is going to be positive, then there are going to be two solutions. Okay, so you're going to get two separate answers. Sometimes they'll be fractions, sometimes they'll be decimals. A lot of us, this is going to be rounding, so you'll get decimal answers for these even if they end up a fraction, but we'll talk about that as we go forward. If you get 0 underneath here, guys, if you add 0 or if you subtract 0, those are the same answer. So there's only going to be one solution. Good. One solution. There's only going to be one in the whole thing. That's it. One solution. And then the last one is going to be if the discriminant is negative. Guys, do this right now. Grab your calculators, type 3, hit the negative button, and hit the square root button. Remember, it's going to be like this. That's the little square root button. It should tell you something like no error or something, error. So it's not possible to take the square root of a negative unless you're dealing with what's called imaginary numbers, which we don't deal with until you get to algebra 2. Okay? Under the set of real numbers, which is what we work under, okay? It's not possible to take the square root of a negative. Therefore, if you get a negative as that discriminant, then you have 0 solutions. The answer is really written as no solution. We'll talk about how you can write it with braces also in a minute. All right. Does anybody have any questions about that? Just the idea of how many solutions you get for each one. We good? Okay. Anybody still writing? Okay, here we go. This is the first one. We have 4, guys, the only thing we have is 4 examples. That's it. There's not much to this. It's 4 examples, and I did 4 because I have one regular one. We repeat the regular one to let you try it, and then there's 2 special cases. We'll talk about those. So here we go. This is a quadratic equation. It's already equal to 0. Okay? That's going to mean that we pull out our a equals, our b equals, and our c equals. A, b, and c is what we're going to use in the quadratic formula. So the a comes from whatever's in front of this x squared, which would be 1. There's nothing there, so that's a 1. In front of this x, it's going to be a negative 2. That's going to be your b. And then the last thing is just a constant. It's that negative 35. That's going to be your c. There's no variable there, no nothing. That's it. So we're going to plug those numbers into our quadratic formula and set it up as x equals, and then we'll fill it in based on the formula. Sorry guys, I got to clean my glasses off. 1 second. Still need more, but I'll do it in a second. Okay, here we go. So it's going to be x equals. So it's going to be the opposite of, guys, I'm always going to put an opposite sign here, a negative sign here, and then I'm going to put parentheses, and I'm going to put the opposite of whatever this is for b. So it's going to be the opposite of negative 2 plus or minus the square root. It's a big long square root. And then it's going to be b squared, so it's going to be negative 2 squared And guys, it's always minus 4. That number's doesn't ever change. It's always minus and it's always 4. Minus 4 times A and C, so it's times 1 and times negative 35. I use parentheses just to keep my negatives and positives straight. You can put dots, but it gets confusing. I would suggest parentheses. All over 2 times A, which in this case, that'd be 2 times 1. Alright. Now the discriminant part is going to be done on your calculator, but we're going to start with this part out here in front first. What is the opposite of a negative 2? 2 plus or minus the square root of, and then it's going to be small because we're going to work this down just to one number. So grab your calculators. We're going to type this discriminant part in and decide how many answers we need right here, right now. This part is what we're going to do right now on the calculator. If you don't get this answer, please ask me a question or ask someone around you how to type this. Okay, to type this on your calculators, you're going to type 2, and then you're going to hit the negative key, which is the plus minus, and then you're going to hit the square key, which is the x with the little 2 on it. Yep.
The calculator at my desk is dead.
Oh, come on up. I'll give you one of mine, and then we'll go from there. Use this one for now. Completely just doesn't turn on. Yeah, their batteries die. They're cheaper to replace the calculator than the battery. Sad. Okay, here we go. So we did 2, and then the negative button, and then the square button. Then you're going to type minus, and then 4, then times 1, times 35, and then the negative button, and then you have to hit equals. I put every keystroke on there, guys. So again, it's 2 negative, and then the square button, minus 4 times 1 times 35 negative equals. It should give you, I think it's 144. Yeah. Is there anybody that needs to talk about that? Yes.
Could I take a picture of that just for reference?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
How did you get the 4 in?
How'd I get the 4? It's in the problem. That's a very good question. Let her get that picture, and then I'm going to go back to the formula. The formula itself has the 4 in it. It doesn't come from anywhere but the formula itself. It's in every one of the problems we will do. We will write the negative 4.
Will you have another time add 4?
Yeah, it's always going to have minus 4 in it. Every single problem is going to have the minus 4 in it. That's a very good question. Yes.
Can you have more time? I got one for you.
Absolutely. Okay. Guys, I'd rather you ask and we talk about how to make sure you know how to type it than anything. So, okay, so type 2 and then the negative key, and then it's going to be squared, good, and then it's going to be minus 4 times 1 times 35 negative, and then equals. There you go. Anybody else? Need me to walk through it with them? Y'all good? Okay, here we go. All over what? 2. All over 2. Okay, guys, so here we go. X equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 144. Oh, wait, what is the square root of 144? Sorry, you've got a calculator, do it. 144 square root. 12 all over 2. Okay, so now that we've got it down to this, you're going to separate it into your 2 cases. Why do you have 2 cases, guys? Because it has plus or minus. So you got to do the plus case, you got to do the minus case. The first one is going to be x equals 2 plus 12 over 2. And the second one is going to be x equals 2 minus 12 over 2. So 2 plus 12 is going to put you at 14 over 2. What's 14 divided by 2, guys? 7. There's your first answer. 7. You do the same thing on the other one. 2 minus 12 is going to give you negative 10. And negative 10 divided by 2 puts you at negative 5. Now, these are your solutions. There's more than one of them. It's a set of numbers. Even if there's one of them, you still put a set. A set is always going to have what we call braces around it. Braces are those little things that look like they have points in the middle of a parentheses. It's like a forward S and then a backwards S. Okay? That's braces. You need to write those because that's how sets. You can't put parentheses. It'll be marked wrong, guys. sets are done with braces. You've got to make sure you have those. And when you list elements in a set, you list them from least to greatest. So it's going to be the -5 first, then the 7. -5, then the 7. All right. Does anybody have any questions on that first one? Yep.
So we always do the smaller one first.
It's always least to greatest, yes. Always the smaller one first. I have to be careful of the word smaller, it's really not, because then it could be like -5 and 2. So people get confused when I say this, but yes, least to greatest. Okay, anybody still writing? Okay, good. Guys, just so y'all know, the new people, please be aware of the notes. If I write it down, y'all need to write it down, because this is one of the things I might ask you for on the folder check, is to give me one of these examples. It could be just the answer, could be all the work and the answer, it could be any part of it, so make sure you, if I write it down on notes, you write it down on notes. Okay, why is this one different? This is on here because it's different. What is different about this problem?
You have a C.
I do have a C, but it's where?
It's on the other side of the.
See, it's on the other side. It's not equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, you cannot do the ABC thing yet. So you've got to move this 4 to the other side. When you move it to the other side, doesn't matter what you line it up underneath, guys, because there's no like terms. You're just going to write them in order from the highest power down to the lowest power. So the 15x squared is going to go first, then minus the 8x, then minus the 4, and it's going to equal 0. Then it's just like the other problem. You've got the a in front. The a in this case is going to be 15. You've got the b in that second spot, so the b is going to be -8. And you've got the c in the third spot, which is going to be -4. And I think this is one that ends up decimals. I'm trying to remember, but we'll look. We'll get there. I wanted to do one of like every type that you could see. Okay, now that you've got that, try setting it up. I'm not going to say it yet. Try at least writing it in the equation. I'm going to do it in a second, but y'all at least try writing it in the equation. I want y'all to practice writing and filling the numbers in. The opposite of b plus or minus the square root of, oh, sorry guys. Okay. Okay, guys, let's see if you wrote it out correctly. It'd be the opposite of -8 plus or minus the square root of -8 squared minus 4. It's always minus 4, guys. That number's not in the problem, like in the numbers in this anywhere. It's always -4 times a, which is 15, times c, which is -4, all over 2 times a, which is 15. That's what it should look like when you plug in all the numbers. Okay, so the opposite of -8 is going to be 8 plus or minus the square root of. Okay, so anybody got what this ends up being underneath here? 304. Do we all agree? Just want to make sure everybody's good. Does anybody have any questions about the 304? Okay, here we go. All over 2 times 15 would be 30. Perfect. So, guys, do you see right here you've already got a number? Try 304 and hit the square button on your calculator. You got ugly numbers, right? Doesn't give you. So in that case, if you get ugly numbers, guys, just go ahead and leave it as square root of 304. Put it as 8 plus square root of 304, we'll show you what to do with it in a second, all over 30. And then x equals 8 minus square root of 304, all over 30. Okay. So grab your calculators. Type 8 plus 304 square roots. You have to hit an equal sign. This line, even though it's division, you need to put an equal sign to separate the top from the bottom. So it's going to be 8 plus 304 square root equals divided by 30. Let's write that out just so we're clear on that. 8 plus 304 and then the square root button. That's that one that looks like this. 8 plus 304 square root equals, and then you're going to hit divide by 30 equals. Now you're going to get a decimal. You're going to need to round it off to one decimal place. As a matter of fact, I think it's a decimal itself, isn't it? It's like point something. 0.847 dot dot dot. It just keeps going on the calculator. Since it's that, and we're rounding all our answers to the nearest tenth, that's what the directions say on the worksheet, so we'll stay the same on here. It's an 8 with a 4 after it. Would it stay 0.8 or would it round up to 0.9? It would stay at 0.8. Good. Okay, do the same math on the next one. Just replace it with 8 minus and do that same thing, and then tell me what you get as a decimal. I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty small decimal. But someone's got it already? Point what? Is it 0.3 or is it 0.03?
No, it's 0.3.
0.3? Would make more sense, I'm just making sure. So 0.3 what? 1 and then dot dot dot. Guys, it's a 3 with a 1 after it. Would it be 0.3 or would it round up to 0.4? 0.3. There you go. Alright, we put our answers in braces. Our answers go in these lovely things that y'all need to draw. And they go in order from least to greatest. So which one goes first?
Oh, it's negative 0.3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, nobody said that. Or I missed it. That was my fault probably. It's negative 0.3? Okay, I just want to make sure. And so that's going to put it, that's easy then. Negative 0.3 goes first, and then positive 0.8 is going to go second. There you go. Okay, so I'll be honest with you, the ones that have two answers are the ones that are going to take you longer. The ones with one answer and no answer at all are really quick. You'll see they get faster as we go through the cases. The only two we have left are going to be those two special cases. I don't know which one the next one is, but does anybody have any questions or still writing on this one? Okay, let's go to that next one. Guys, you got to ask me though. If you're not done writing, you got to tell me and I'll stop. Okay, here we go. So again, it's not equal to 0, so that's the very first thing you got to deal with. You got to get that 10x over to the other side. Again, it doesn't have another x to line up underneath, so just put it somewhere underneath there so that when you put it in order, you're going to put it from the highest power down to the lowest power. So you're going to start with the x squared in front, then you're going to have the x term, then you're going to have the constant all by itself, and then it's going to be equal to 0. Once it's in that order, then you can do your A, B, and your C. What would your A be in this case? 1. What would your B equal to? 10. And then your C would equal to what? 25. There you go. Perfect. So let's set this up and figure out which case it is. It's either the 0 or the negative number. I don't know which one. Think it's the 0? Let's see. So it's going to be x equals the opposite of 10 plus or minus the square root of 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 25 all over 2 times what? Which one are we multiplying by on the bottom? 2 times 1. 2 times 1. Okay, so guys, the opposite of 10 is going to be negative 10. plus or minus the square root of. Okay, that discriminant underneath here,
It's 0.
is it 0?
Yeah.
Y'all agree?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna make sure it's 0. All over 2. Guys, if it's square root of 0, does it matter if you add 0 or subtract 0?
No.
It doesn't make any difference. So how many answers am I gonna get here? One answer. I'm gonna get one answer. That's it. It's just gonna be negative 10 divided by 2. That part, you don't need the plus square root of 0. It's just 0. Minus square root of 0, it's not going to change anything. So it's just one case, which negative 10 divided by 2 is going to be negative 5. So you just put your brace up here, you put the 5 inside of it, and that is your only answer. That's it. Oh, yes, I apologize. Thank you. I was trying to make a point. One answer. I forgot the negative. Thank you. Okay, so you can guess what the last one's going to be. What's it going to be, guys? It should be no answer. Let's see if that's true. It's the only one we haven't done yet, so let's see. And y'all know I try to do oh wait, was anybody still writing? I'm sorry. You were? Thank you. I apologize. I usually ask before I go. Guys, all you gotta do if you need me to wait is just say something, and I'll wait. I do not have a problem with that. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know. Okay, anybody else? Okay, here we go for this last one. It's equal to 0, so that part's easy. The one thing I will say is people messed up, and don't do this on the test with problem numbers either. They put down 4 for the A. What's A in this case, guys? 1. It's just they were just going too fast and just saw it there and messed up. And I let them do it on their own to get started, and then they messed that up, so I wanted to say that before we started. So in this case, your A is equal to 1, your B is equal to, it doesn't, lowercase capital doesn't matter in this one, is equal to negative 3, and your C is equal to 5. So it's going to be x equals the opposite of negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which would be negative 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 5, all over 2 times 1. So x equals, now this one goes quick, there's not much to it because, watch what happens. The opposite of negative 3 is 3, plus or minus the square root of, okay, grab your calculators, don't say it if you know it, don't say it yet. Do the math real quick, do this discriminant part right here. Do this on a calculator. I'm doing it in my head. Negative, is it 11? Did y'all get negative 11?
Yeah.
Okay. So negative 11 all over 2. At the point that you get negative 11, you're done. There is no other work for this. At this point of the problem, you are finished because the answer to this problem is that there is no answer to this problem. It doesn't have a solution in the set of real numbers. To show that, you can either put, now, the reason I'm showing you this because it's another way to write no solution and people have trouble with this when they see it on an answer key and some other things. If you put 2 braces and don't put anything in it, then that means no solution. You can also, just so we're very clear, you could write no solution. But if the answer blank already has braces in it, just don't put anything in it. Don't put a no solution symbol inside of it. That's wrong. Don't do that. The braces, if the braces are there, you just got to leave it empty. Or you can write the word or put the symbol. I don't care. But you can't do the symbol when you have the braces. You can't put the words inside the braces. Just nothing. Okay, guys, that's your notes for today. Please go ahead from here.